Hold on. Something's missing. I got it. All done. Don't judge me.
I think it's asleep.
The Odyssey 2026 is directed and written by Christopher Nolan. The film stars Matt Damon, Tom Holland, Anne Hathaway, Robert Pattinson, Lupita Nyong'o, Samantha, Morton, Zendaya, and Charlize Theron. According to IMDb's plot synopsis, after the Trojan War, Odysseus faces a dangerous voyage back to Ithaca, meeting creatures like the Cyclops, Polyphemus, Sirens, and Calypso along the way. Based off of the famous Greek poem of the same name, Homer's The Odyssey has been an important piece of storytelling for centuries. This is a story that has been around for now 3,000 years. It is so iconic, it is so influential. I'm sure a lot of storytellers can tell you, or at the very least, if you read some other tales or other plots to other stories, you know that in some ways, The Odyssey can kind of seem like it's an influence on literature. While there's been different interpretations of the fictional tale, the general story has always remained the same. Pretty much any type of version, whether it be other reinterpretations from other literature figures or in movies or TV shows, generally the story kind of remains the same of Odysseus trying to get home has always been the forefront of it. Coming off of his critical and commercial success of Oppenheimer, which won 7 Oscars, including both Best Director and Best Picture, Christopher Nolan sets to bring his own style and realism to the epic tale. Christopher Nolan, at this point, he's at the height that most people can always picture this man at being, but really, like after Oppenheimer, this guy now has the full carte blanche, even though he's had it, but really with now Universal, he has been given full range to go and make the movies that he wants to make, that this man has that incredible reach and pull that he can draw audiences in. With the stacked cast, music, and production, this became not only my most anticipated film of the summer, but of the year. Out of all the movies that were lined up this year, and I'm not trying to downplay any of them, this was, of course, going to be my number one. There is nothing that could replace the idea of what this movie is. I, of course, have heard about the story of the Odyssey. I never read the book. We watched a bit of, I believe, the miniseries that came out in the 90s. Saw clips of it in school, but I never really fully had read or watched any other full adaptations of the Homer poem itself. So I'm all new to this. And I know the general story, but I meant like reading it or watching it. I have no knowledge. I'm here to report to you all, having now seen this said film by one Christopher Nolan, that it lives up to the hype. It does. There's no words or any sort of way to describe it other than just epic. It is well made, it is so incredibly handcrafted that you just have to ask yourself how in the world a movie like this can even remotely still feel awesome to watch. Like, truly, how is it that possible in 2026 you would look at a movie like this and say, holy shit, that's amazing. That is now going to be, I think, iconic for film history. Going forward, for the next few decades or so, this will be one of them. Even though the film faced some backlash from scholars, and I would argue to say that it didn't really 100% got like this huge wave when it came to like historical accuracies, because first of all, it's a story. There's no historical facts to back this up. It's just really based off just the writing of Homer alone. It's just more so like scholars are saying and talking about the armor and all that stuff. That's all they were saying. But of course, it also faced controversies. What were those controversies? Honestly, people, there are some that I can quite understand, and then there are a lot of them that I say, this is just some BS. This is truly some of the dumbest things I've ever heard when it came to casting, mainly of two particular people that they are really talented actors in their own right, and they deserve no sort of criticism. And in my mind, anybody that criticizes them for even remotely being in this movie, what the fuck are you doing with your life? Just seriously is ridiculous. Nolan has now defied the deceptions and stupidity that with a fantastic journey. That is how Christopher Nolan is able to just sway off any of these doubts of wanting to tear people down and tell him that what you're doing is wrong. And he can say, hold my beer. Because that is what he does. He just knows how to drop cinematic, gorgeous looking films that just capture so much of what makes filmmaking so special and what makes storytelling so effective in the way that he goes about it, with no negatives to find. I legit could not find any sort of problems with this movie, even if I could, because I just love this movie so much. So here are now the positives, and I mean all of them. The performances are phenomenal. Everyone in the entire cast, but of course in particular, Damon, Holland, Hathaway, Pattinson, Morton, Hawkins, and Leguizamo all shine so bright that it's hard to look away, showing everyone on their A game. Say what you will, could they have gone for more unknown actors? Yes, but if you all know Christopher Nolan, you know he's not going to do that. He's always going to get the top of the line actors that are working today, and he decided I wanted to have these guys playing these roles. And to me, all of them fit their bills. They all brought every sort of depth and emotion to this movie. Matt Damon, I am so happy the fact that for a guy of his age and easily still a bankable star in some ways, he is believable and haunting as Odysseus. He truly evokes the idea of a man who's been at war for so long, he just wants to go home, but he's still haunted by the things that he has done throughout the war, or even just what he has done in the situation that he's brought himself and his men into, to where he just has this hard time of like trying to please, or at the very least try to make up for the wrongs he's done, but also trying to still be there for his men and trying to still put them above himself, and at the very least try to seek some sort of redemption, or at the very least this sort of idea of wanting to identify who he is even when the war is over. Holland, I gotta give the man props, because not only is he really good in this movie, but I mean, because this is a fantastic movie in my eyes, I'm so happy for him. I'm glad that he got a chance to show off more of his acting range in a fantastic movie. And yet, him as Telemachus, he really sells the idea of a boy who is trying to search for his father, but also trying to identify what does it mean to exist in a world where men are trying to push themselves to being in more brooding and nastier ways of trying to seek power. He's just somebody who wants to see the goodness in the way in which life can be. He wants to believe in the notion of finding the will of being the person that he is, whilst also still feeling like his father is out there. He needs to search for him, and also believe in the hope that Ithaca can thrive and be prosperous in the way in which it should be. Anne Hathaway, an actress who needs no introduction, but she is also fantastic here as Penelope, a woman who is grieving her husband, longing for him, wanting him to come home, and also having to kind of fight off all these suitors, all these people that are in her house, and having to deal with the fact that Telemachus is also trying to defend her from all these suitors as well, and trying to still believe and spark that notion that her husband is coming home. And she is torn by this idea of longing for somebody, whilst also still believing the notion that Odysseus is out there. But it is the pain in which Anne Hathaway brings that is magnificent to watch. Pattinson, talk about playing easily, I think, one of the most slimiest villains to date as of right now, like at least of this year, because he is such a conniving, weaselly little person in this movie that I always forget, like, wait, this guy's playing Batman? Like, how? Because he is so much like a chameleon. He can just slip into a role and just disappear and just make you believe in the idea of who he's supposed to be. And him as this suitor who is trying to get Penelope to marry him, but also trying to go at Telemachus and trying to remove him from power. It was all so captivating, but it was also really fantastic in the way in which he goes about just finding little jabs and little ways to really provoke this sort of anger within Telemachus and trying to push him to the strength of wanting to fight him off. Samantha Morton, although not in it as much, I actually really dug her as Cersei. I think she is terrifying. The way she presents herself as being calm and elusive in the way in which she tries to bring people in. It was terrifying, and a scene involving pigs with her. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have nightmares after that. Corey Hawkins, another actor I feel like that doesn't get a lot of appreciation. He here I think does very well at also playing another suitor in this movie that is also a piece of shit, an asshole. The fact that this guy also is trying to win over Penelope, but also working with Robert Pattinson in this movie, and how he's also trying to manipulate Telemachus into fighting them. If you thought Robert Pattinson was a piece of shit, this guy is also a complete asshole at the same time. And John Leguizamo, I was legit surprised on how he would do, because I'm going to be honest, I didn't know how this was going to go for him. And for an actor of his caliber, I didn't know what to expect, but he was surprisingly well done and pretty much really subdued. A guy who is really well spoken as well as wise, but also just somebody who has seen the ways in which men are twisted, but also really giving the advice that Telemachus needs in a time when he's missing a figure in his life, and he is able to provide that as best as he can. But really, John Leguizamo, I was legit blown away with, and to me, he was another standout in this already star-studded cast. The direction is spectacular. Director Christopher Nolan brings life and darkness that feels weighted and heavy. Bringing his own style works so well. Who would have thought, for a movie that is all fantastical and mystical, Christopher Nolan is able to bring this down to earth and make it kind of believable. Yes, in a world where you have Cyclops, witches, and the dead, it's crazy to think for a movie that has all those elements, Christopher Nolan's able to ground it in a way where it makes you feel like it's tangible and it's real. Especially how gods are portrayed in this. They're not like what you kind of expect, something like in like Clash of the Titans, where like you see all the people that represent the figures of gods. It's more so in the subtle ways of like the wind, the ocean, the sun. That's how I feel like it works so well to no one's advantage, by using his environment and using that as a way of conveying the gods without having to go the extra mile of actually having actual beings playing these godlike figures. He's able to just utilize just the environment to where it conveys the sort of harshness and reality of how the world is, but also just how powerful these beings can be when the elements are against them. That I think is what works to no one's benefit, is by using those aspects, but also just how he is able to like just manage all of this together and bring it all in. It's so well crafted and beautiful. This story is captivating, following Odysseus and his crew on their perilous journey home while his son searches and fend off suitors of his mother was both engaging and haunting. It may be an old tale, but it feels epic centuries later. For a story that is, like I said, almost now 3,000 years old, who would have thought that a story like this, even if it's been reinterpreted multiple times, can still feel epic? It's incredible to see a movie like this have a story that feels like there's heart but also emotion in the way in which it goes about discussing about not just this tale in Odysseus and talking about the trauma, but also about how war is just savagery. Yes, war has always been like that, but like this movie even depicts it even centuries ago on how barbaric and chaotic it is to find people in these wars and just bring out the grossness and depravity that they put upon people, as well as just the way in which power can corrupt others and how it is almost like a snake or a chameleon, how it is able to kind of wrap itself around others and kind of twist them in ways that they want them to be instead of staying true to themselves. Then using their influence and their ways of words to influence good people to do bad things or to tempt them. It's all impressive. It's all working here. And that's so powerful for what this movie has to offer. And I was really digging the hell out of this. The writing is effective. Nolan brings the tension and emotional level to an all-time high, allowing the cast to bring dimension to it. Another thing that works with the story is its writing. And Nolan was able to take one of the interpretations of the Odyssey and construct it in a way that makes it tangible and reasonable for people to understand it without having to feel like you're a literature buff. Yes, I get it. people will talk about how the language here does not exist many years ago, but again, that's what reinterpretations do. They reinterpret things that have been discussed and told, and just told in different ways, and it's totally okay for them to change it in the way in which they want to fit. And here, Nolan was able to construct one of the interpretations and make it into something that I think is truly riveting to watch and hear the actors just riff off of it and really chew into what Nolan has to give them. The cinematography is gorgeous. Cinematographer and frequent Nolan collaborator Huyten van Hoytema is stunning as well as in a grounded way that feels real. With this being shot entirely on IMAX's 70mm cameras, it's easily the best looking film of the year. The movie still looks gorgeous even in regular version because, wow, it's incredible to see the amount of passion, dedication that Huyten van Hoytema brings when it comes to showcasing Nolan's vision, his way of what this all looks like. And it's breathtaking. It is so gorgeous, especially that one shot you see of them on the beach and you see them pulling the horse and moving it. It's incredible, but really, this entire movie is gorgeous. The sceneries and showcasing the locations that they went and saw, and especially on the ocean. It is like pitch black, you guys. Dark to the point of you could hardly see what's out there. But yet somehow it feels so tangible, it feels real, and that's because Hoytema was able to really bring you along for that journey and make you feel like you are with them along for it. The production is fantastic, from the sets, props, to costumes and staging. The dedication and craftsmanship was all top notch. A huge round of applause to the entire crew, and I mean that. The fact that they were able to not only have some of the best looking costumes, and yes, you can talk about its inaccuracies, but the way in which it feels tangible and almost in a way where it feels weathered and worn in. Then you also have the fact that they had background actors on set to play like the dead or even just some of the background soldiers. It's astonishing to me that a movie like this can still do that and still be as effective at telling it. But again, the props themselves fit right with what this movie is, as well as the staging of everything. It is so incredible and so mesmerizing that I was left so speechless. The music is epic. Composer and another Nolan collaborator, Ludwig Göransson, brings an eerie and haunting score that feels both heroic but also exhausting. Once again, Göransson is a master film composer for today. I honestly think that this man's going to be remembered as the next Hans Zimmer. Okay, like that's just what I feel like he's going down that path, especially with working with Nolan, because of course Zimmer has also worked with Nolan a lot. But it's the fact that there's this sort of pain that you feel in the music, or the epic tension that is building in scenes that feels so raw and effective in the way how characters are supposed to feel in the moment, but again, when I say haunting, this score is very eerie at times and is really able to pull some sort of feelings that you get when you watch these scenes, the right ones, feelings that you are supposed to have when these scenes happen. And Ludwig Göransson, I could see him winning another Oscar for this movie. It may not happen, but could I see him winning? Yeah, absolutely, because this guy is so gifted and such a genius. I have nothing but huge respects for him. The pacing and runtime is perfect. Scenes would play out that feel right for its length. With a runtime of 2 hours and 52 minutes, it felt appropriate. This is one time that I have to say for a movie that is almost near 3 hours, this works completely. This is a epic film through and through. That is what this should be. And for that, it feels right in how it is able to pace itself and not feel like it's having to be all flashy or having to just breeze by everything. It feels natural. And sure, it is a lengthy runtime, but I'm going to tell you, I was not discouraged by it. I actually was welcomed by it. It felt like I was treated right, unlike some other movie that didn't treat me right and was insulting. The action is brutal. Every fight feels hard-hitting and heavy as they happen, allowing for some tension-filled moments. The way in which characters fight each other in this, sure, it's not the most well-choreographed, but damn is it really hard-hitting and effective in how realistic it comes off. How characters are supposed to be fighting, down and dirty, nasty, but also just this feeling of wanting to kill the other person. It doesn't feel like we have to still show off these fun, cool moves. No, it actually feels like they are trying to kill each other. And it was really impressive, especially near the end. It honestly might be one of my favorite action sequences of the year, hands down. I think so. No matter what other action movie I see this year, I don't know if it's ever going to top that. Because, wow, once the action in Ithaca happens, I'm mesmerized and just completely stunned on how well executed and just downright hard hitting it is. The effects are incredible. Seeing the blend of both practical and, the tiny bit of visual effects, just a tiny, look stunning, making them feel like one. It feels like one entity. The idea that you can combine both of these elements and it just works out perfect. There was never a point where it was taking me out. People, that whole Cyclops sequence, apparently they used puppetry. Did you know that? I didn't know that. I'm going to tell you, there was not a point that I felt like it was like puppetry work. Or I couldn't tell where they switched it out and put in the real actor, Bill Urban, who plays the Cyclops, Polyphemus. I couldn't tell the difference. It felt so seamless. It felt effective in how they are able to just swap out both of those things, and it blends together so amazingly that it's just baffling to think that had some sort of work of puppetry, but also even practical effects. And one scene, like I said, involving pigs. Yeah, the practical work there is just astonishing. Bringing Nolan's signature tone and style to Homer's Tale, The Odyssey delivers audiences a true work of filmmaking and spectacle storytelling. Everything on display shows the hard work in a beautiful way. It might be debatable on where this ranks on Nolan's filmography, because it is. People can have wherever they want for their movie, but I do believe that this is easily and definitely one of the year's best. I don't think there's any argument to be had on how well made this was. Most of the controversy is just blown out of the water because Nolan is able to deliver something that is so credible and so effective that honestly, it makes all of those excuses go away because this movie is just fantastic. I'm going to give The Odyssey 2026 a 10 out of 10. This movie is just a roar to watch. It is incredible to see Nolan many years later still be the master of his craft and see the passion that he has for this, but also everybody involved. There's nothing like it. It's easily one of the best movies of the summer, if not the best, and it is definitely one movie that I'm going to hold till the end of the year because I was just incredibly satisfied with what I was given. So I will be soon doing a review for Avatar and The Last Airbender. So yes, look forward to that review and other reviews coming soon.